of you. This is 12th class biology, chapter 12, biotechnology and its applications, and this is lecture number 3. Today we will discuss about molecular diagnosis of different diseases and transgenic animals with their benefits. So molecular diagnosis, why it is necessary? Let's talk about that first. A conventional method of diagnosis of any disease. What are conventional method? Usually serum analysis or urine analysis is done for the diagnosis of any disease. Okay, so these are conventional method, and these are not suitable for early diagnosis of the disease. Okay, because with the urine analysis we can tell about a disease only at later stages. Okay, so these are not suitable for the early diagnosis of disease, and if early diagnosis of disease will be possible, then obviously the treatment of the disease will be possible, right? So early diagnosis is very important. So this early diagnosis of the diseases is possible by techniques like recombinant DNA technology, PCR and ELISA technique. Okay, with these techniques it is possible. So we will discuss about these techniques here. So polymerase chain reaction, PCR, it is a technique for early diagnosis of any disease, because with the help of it we can amplify the DNA. Okay, normally what happens, presence of a pathogen is normally suspected only based on symptoms. Okay, when we feel the symptom of any disease, at that time we go for the urine analysis or the serum analysis. But by this time the concentration of pathogen is already very high in the body. Okay, and at that time it will be very difficult to control that pathogen, right? However, very low concentration of a bacteria or virus can be detected by amplification of their nucleic acid by PCR, right? So if anybody is suspected before the symptoms of disease, also with the amplification of the DNA, disease can be diagnosed, because if the amplification means the PCR technique is done for the amplification of DNA, so the genetic material of any bacteria or virus or any of the pathogen can be amplified several times. Okay, and it will be easy to detect that. Next technique for the early diagnosis of any disease is DNA probe, with the help of DNA probe. Okay, so it is molecular diagnosis using DNA probe. Here what happened, you can see here, this is target DNA. Target DNA means suspected DNA from the suspected person. Okay, what we are doing here, we are using DNA probe. So this is DNA probe. DNA probes means we are making complementary DNA of this target DNA. Okay, so this is complementary strand of DNA which are radioactive. These signs are here for the radioactivity. Okay, we are making these complementary DNA radioactive so that we can easily visualize these. Okay, for that we are making these radioactive. So this is artificially made DNA which is radioactive and which is complementary to the target DNA. Okay, now why we are making it complementary to the target DNA? So that it can hybridize with the target DNA. Okay, so what will happen now, you can see here, like this is denaturation step for both, for probe DNA as well as for the target DNA. Then these are mixed here so that hybridization can occur between target DNA and our probe. Okay, the probe which is radioactively labeled. Okay, this is for radioactively labeled. Now you can see here hybridization occur like this. Now if there is any mutation in our target DNA, okay, if any of the base pair is changed here, then what will happen, this probe DNA will not hybridize with the target DNA. Okay, because of the change of that nitrogenous base, there will be no hybridization, right? And it will indicate a mutation in the target DNA. So this technique can be used for the early diagnosis of cancer. Okay, if there is any mutation here in the target DNA, it can indicate cancer, right? So like this, with the help of DNA probe we can diagnose cancer at early stages, and mutation can be detected here. Now, how this hybridization is detected by us? With the help of autoradiography. Okay, with the help of autoradiography, it because it is radioactively labeled. Okay, so on X-ray film, it becomes visible. If hybridization occur, it becomes visible on the X-ray film. And if there is no hybridization due to mutation in the target DNA, then it will be not visible on the X-ray film. So we can visualize it due to presence of this radioactivity here. Now next technique is enzyme linked immunosorbent assay, which can also be used for the early diagnosis of any disease. This is ELISA, full form of ELISA, enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. And it is based on the principle of antigen antibody interaction. You know, antibodies are protein which fight against antigens. Okay, so there is interaction between antigen and antibody. So it is based on that principle only. Infection by pathogen can be detected by the presence of antigens. So what is done here in this technique? Artificial antibodies are made, okay, and blood from the suspected person's body is taken, and then a reaction is observed in that. That reaction, antigen antibody interaction is occurring or not. If the antigen will be present, antigen means if that person is infected by the pathogen, then obviously antigens will be present in the blood, okay, and the antigen antibody interaction will occur. Okay, so like this, presence of antigen can be checked by antigen antibody interaction. Okay, so antigens can be like proteins, glycoproteins. Okay, these parts these are from the pathogen. Okay, these proteins from the pathogen or glycoproteins from the pathogen, these can act as antigen, and these bind with the antibody if these are present in the blood of the infected person, of the suspected person. Okay, so this antigen, and with the help of this antigen antibody reaction, we can tell about the disease. Or by detecting the antibodies synthesized against the pathogen. Okay, so same technique, ELISA technique can be used like this also. Okay, like we can in place of artificial antibodies, we can take antigens for any pathogen. Okay, and if there will be any reaction, it means antibodies are formed inside the blood, because obviously if any pathogen enters inside the body of any person, then against that antigen of that pathogen, antibodies are also formed. Okay, so antigen antibody reaction will be there also. Okay, so it can be done in two ways. Either we can use artificial antibodies, or we can use artificial antigens for recognizing the presence of antigen in the blood or the presence of antibodies in the blood of that person. And especially this ELISA technique is used for checking the AIDS. Okay. Now our next topic is transgenic animals. These are the animals whose genome has been altered, means DNA or RNA has been altered by introduction of an extra foreign gene by manipulation. And all these transgenic animals have been made, like transgenic rats, rabbits, pigs, sheep, cows and fish. Over 90%, 95% of the transgenic animals are mice. Here you can see all these are transgenic animals, these mice, rabbit, pigs, sheep, cows and fish. Now these are the benefits of transgenic animals. First, to study the regulation of genes on normal physiology and development. We will discuss about all these. Second, to study the contribution of genes in the development of a disease. Third, for the production of biological products. Fourth, vaccine safety testing. And fifth is about chemical safety testing. That is also called toxicity testing. So first, benefit of transgenic animals. Let's talk about that. that how these can be used to study regulation of genes on normal physiology and development. So, for example, study of complex factors such as insulin-like growth factor. Okay, insulin-like growth factor, which is responsible for the growth, for the normal growth in the body. Okay, so with the help of transgenic animals, we can study that how this factor is affecting the growth of body, growth and development of body. Okay, with the help of transgenic animals, we can study about it. Okay, genes from other species that alter the formation of this factor are introduced. Okay, how it is studied? Genes from other species are taken and these are introduced, and these genes are such genes which are affecting the formation of insulin like growth factor. And then if insulin like growth factor will not be formed, so what are the effects of that? Those effects are studied. Okay, what are the effects of the absence of this insulin like growth factor on the body? Those effects are studied here in the transgenic animals. Okay, deliberately it is done that some genes are introduced in those animals body which impact the formation of insulin like growth factor. Okay, and then in those animals, in those transgenic animals body, this growth like factor will be absent. And then what are the impacts, what are the overall impacts due to absence of this insulin like growth factor, how it is affecting other genes also? All those things are studied in those transgenic animals. So this gives information about the biological role of the factor in the body, that how it is important for the growth and development and how it is important for the regulation of other genes also. Okay, that's why it is about the study of regulation of genes on normal physiology and development. Next thing, we can use transgenic animals to study the contribution of genes in development of a disease. So transgenic models help to investigate new treatments for human disease, because if we know that which gene is actually responsible for the disease and how these genes are contributing for the development of any disease, then it will be easy to treat that disease. Okay, so many disease models are prepared. Disease models are what? Like these transgenic animals are deliberately made diseased. Okay, deliberately the gene responsible for that disease is introduced in those animals. Okay, and with the help of it we can prepare transgenic models for many human disease such as cancer, cystic fibrosis, rheumatoid arthritis and Alzheimer. Okay, for all these disease transgenic models have been prepared. Okay, and with the help of those animals we can easily study that how any gene is responsible for the development of that particular disease and how it can be cured. So the treatment of disease becomes easy. Next is about biological products, that how transgenic animals are used for the production of many useful products for the human being. So transgenic animals are used to produce biological products by introducing genes which codes for a particular product. For example, human protein. Name of this human protein is alpha-1 antitrypsin. That is used to treat emphysema. Okay, it can be made with the help of transgenic animals. The specific genes for this human protein can be introduced in some animals, and then this protein can be extracted from those animals for the human use. Then second is about products for treatment of phenylketonuria and cystic fibrosis. These are like medicine, you can say, for the phenylketonuria and cystic fibrosis. For these diseases, medicine can be prepared in by using some transgenic animals, by introducing the genes for these. Now it is also an example of producing biological products with the help of transgenic animals. Like in 1997, Rosie is the name of a cow, and it was first transgenic cow. And this Rosie cow produced human protein enriched milk. And how much protein was present in the milk of Rosie? 2.4 gram per liter. Okay, uh, that much protein was present in the milk of Rosie cow. So it was a transgenic cow. It contains human alpha lactalbumin in the milk of cow. It is nutritionally more balanced product for human babies than natural cow milk. Next is about vaccine safety testing. We can use these transgenic animals for uh, testing the safety of vaccines which are prepared. Like transgenic mice are used to test the safety of polio vaccine. If it is reliable, means if it is not having any side effect, any type of reaction, they can replace the use of monkeys. Okay, first if any new vaccine is prepared, then that vaccine is first tested on the mice, and after that if there is no reaction in the mice, then it is tested on monkeys to test the safety of vaccine. Okay, so then it is tested on monkeys, and then after that it is tested on some humans. Next is about chemical safety testing. So any of the new medicine, like in all the medicines there will be chemical, okay, and there is need to test that chemical present in that medicine. Okay, so some transgenic animals are used for that. Some of the transgenic animals carry genes which make them more sensitive to the toxic substances than non-transgenic animals. So what is done here? These animals are made more sensitive to the toxic, means to the chemical which is present in that medicine. Okay, and then this medicine is tested on those animals. Okay, these animals are more sensitive than non-transgenic animal to that particular toxic. Okay, they are exposed to the toxic substances and the effects studied. It gives immediate results. So with the help of these transgenic animals, this safety of different chemicals can be tested. This is your homework for today. NCERT question number 7, 8 and 9. Now let's discuss homework solution of previous lecture. What are cryoproteins? Name an organism that produce it, and how has human exploited this protein to his benefit? So cryoproteins are the toxins encoded by cryogenes and produced by the bacteria Bacillus thuringiensis, which contains these proteins in its inactive form, means in protoxin form. Okay, and it gets activated due to the alkaline pH of the gut of insect. When it ingests the inactive toxin protein, it becomes active inside that, and it leads to the lysis of epithelial cell due to formation of pores in those. Okay, and ultimately the insect dies. Hence we say that man has exploited this protein to produce some transgenic crops. And what is the name of the transgenic crop? Bt cotton and also Bt corn. Now next question is, what is gene therapy? Illustrate using the example of adenosine deaminase deficiency. So here you need to explain about the gene therapy. First of all, you will tell the definition: the process of correction of malfunction genes. It can be deleted gene, or malfunction in the gene can be due to other mutations. Okay, so malfunction gene is corrected by inserting the desirable gene or repairing or manipulating them, and it is called gene therapy. So it is a collection of methods which enables the correction of gene defect. Okay, it is a collection of method because in gene therapy, you know, you have done about it. The first, the lymphocytes are taken from the patient, then cDNA is injected in those, okay, and then again it is transfused, transfusion is done in the patient blood, okay. So it includes a number of steps, okay. So it is a collection of methods. And in this therapy, the gene is inserted into the cell and tissues of a person to treat a disease. And if we talk about the ADA deficiency, so it is a rare genetic disorder caused due to deletion of gene for the adenosine deaminase. This is the enzyme, and the gene responsible for making this enzyme is absent here. This enzyme is critical for the normal functioning of immune system, and that's why it lead to the weakening of immune system, okay. And with the help of gene therapy it can be corrected. Next question is, diagrammatically represent the experimental steps in cloning and expressing an human gene into a bacterium like E. coli. And example of human gene is also given here. You need to show the cloning of gene for growth hormone and expression of that gene into a bacterium. So first, if we talk about the cloning, a technique of producing multiple identical copies of a particular template DNA is known as DNA cloning, which involves the uses of a vector that carries the particular foreign DNA fragments to the host cell. The working of cloning and transfer of gene with the help of vector for the growth hormone into E. coli, that is a host, okay, can be depicted by the figure. Here you can see this is chromosomal DNA of E. coli, okay. This cell is E. coli, this is chromosomal DNA, and this is plasmid. So first of all, this plasmid has been extracted from here to use it as a vector, and then this is cleavage of the plasmid with the help of restriction endonuclease, okay. This is cleaved plasmid DNA, and here we have human gene, that is gene for growth hormone, okay. So growth hormone DNA has been taken here, and with the help of same restriction endonuclease which we have used here, this particular gene from here is taken, okay. So cleaved growth hormone gene is from here, having these sticky ends, you can say, for the ligation with the plasmid, okay. After that, with the help of ligase enzyme, this gene for growth hormone is ligated with the plasmid DNA, and this recombinant plasmid DNA will be formed. Then this recombinant plasmid DNA is transformed into the host cell, means E. coli cell, okay. And here you can see the transformation, and when the E. coli cell is duplicating, this is duplication of E. coli cell, you can see here 2 daughter cells have been formed. So at the time of duplication of E. coli cell, our gene will also duplicate, means many copies of the gene for growth hormone will be formed in every E. coli cell. So this is called gene cloning and the expression of growth hormone DNA.